Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me for another Rosse Bespoke Butlers interviews with the experts. Today, we have a gentleman that I think you are going to find absolutely fascinating. So, they always say you never forget your first time. And what this is definitely true for is your first ride in a private jet. Those of you who've flown in a private jet, you would definitely know what I'm talking about. From pushback until the wheels hit the tarmac again, it's an absolutely magical experience. There's a lot of butlers and house managers out there who are very experienced, who will have done this all the time. There's a lot of employers that fire their staff like that all the time. But then there's a lot of you people who are new to the industry or haven't actually sort of entered the industry that will have no idea about this whole world. Other than seeing it on a music video or something, you'll have no idea about private jets. So we have a gentleman who is hugely experienced. Paulo Vassar is the CEO of Private Jet Spain. So it's a luxury air charter company. To give you a bit of background on him, he's originally from a marketing background. He fell in love and found himself in Malaga in Spain. Is that fell in love with Spain, or you fell in? We'll find out. And after leaving a successful marketing career, I see with Hype energy drinks, that's quite exciting. There, I wouldn't mind hearing a bit more about that, to be honest. He became the director of an aviation firm, and then set up a firm by himself. I mean, this is a pretty good pedigree I'm reading right here. I think we're all going to learn an awful lot from this. So, Paulo, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having us. I really, really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure. I'll go straight into the questions. Let's just dive straight in. So, what is it about travel in a private jet that really sets it apart from just commercial air travel?
Well, Simeon, my clients tend to like the privacy of it, obviously. They can, go in their blacked out Range Rover, more or less straight to the plane, have a glass of champagne in their hands before someone finds, the terminal at a commercial flight. So the privacy is one thing, and now more so than ever with COVID-19, that's the security of less people flying on the plane, less germs, all of these things come into play right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as I mentioned, it's a very much a different world, isn't it? For people who haven't experienced this, can you give me a little bit of what do you like about private jets? What do you enjoy about it?
Well, the flexibility is key. Within 24 hours, you can be having your own private flight with your whole family to any destination in the world. That is pretty special, along with all the services that go along with it, private catering, anything you may need or want, full loaded bars, all of these types of things are readily at hand. A flight attendant just to serve you and your family is also very important.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? I mean, yeah, these are the kind of things. I was going to say the money can't buy, but money can buy them. Money does buy them.
It does come at a price, yes. And again, there are certain things that cost a lot more. If a client needs lobster on the plane, that can be done, but it comes at a hefty price.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So tell me a bit more about exactly what it is you do. What's the service that you provide for your clients?
Well, my company is twofold. I am a partner in my company. So my partner on his side does aircraft engineering and maintenance. But besides that, I dedicate full time to private jet charter, private jet sales.
So when it comes to so people are approaching you, I mean, is it just individuals normally that approach you looking for a charter, or is it mostly corporate, or is it a mixture?
It's a mixture of the two, and as we know, they both go hand in hand. Many of our clients have, a liquid income of over 10 million a year, have more than 100 businesses, astronomical numbers in reference to business. So that kind of gets blended. There are times where I have clients that they fly with their family, and there are times that same client flies with, people from his company to do business.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so that's a very good point, actually. I mean, I think anyone in the industry will know that there's never really a line between where the company ends and the private individual begins.
No.
For lots of reasons, some of which are a bit more obvious. But one thing that I've noticed over the years with a lot of you touched on it there with the ease and the flexibility. So I've been sort of taking clients to private jets for many years, and one of the really things that stands out is they basically turn up when they feel like it to these jets. Now, what was that like for you when you've arranged these flights for people, and then their PA, their butler, whatever, contacts you saying, "Oh, by the way, they don't want to take off for another 2 hours." What's that like for you?
Mentioning that, I have a very, very good client who he was a butler, and his boss is always late. So, when I'm dealing with him in particular, I've kind of timed that in because it's guaranteed. It's been 100% of the time. But in general, changes before the flight sometimes can be difficult. It's hard to explain to somebody who's paying 20, 30,000 for a flight, a one-way flight, or a round trip, and they don't understand why you can't change the schedule. Well, it's because that operator has other flights later on, or the pilots are subject to activity times, meaning the amount of time that they can fly in a 24-hour period, and things of that nature. So that's where the trouble comes. But in general, 80% of the time, it's not an issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it. I mean, there's again, I mean, I keep saying back for people who haven't experienced this, because it's really them that I want to get a bit of a picture, a bit of an idea of what we're talking about. We mentioned it earlier, and to you and I, this is obvious, and we know this, that you literally drive your car onto the runway. You literally go round the apron, you park next to the jet, you get off, your butler, driver, whatever, gets out, hands the bag to the crew, put it in the back, and get in the plane. And that really is all of it, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's not all airports operate that way, but some do, and it's a great pleasure. Yes, I mean, it's fast, efficient, and very, very private.
I always love going in out of Farnborough. I don't know if you've been out of that one, but
yes,
they're one that you really don't have to touch or do anything. You just
Farnborough, to be honest, is basically set up for private aviation. It was set up for private aviation. In particular, Tag Heuer, the watch company, had a large role in Farnborough's making.
And it's a very pretty building as well.
Gorgeous.
I've not actually flown into. I mean, you're in the beautiful area which is Malaga, and I love it down there. And I've flown into Malaga commercial, but I've never actually flown in on a private. What's it like? What's the sort of
Malaga has its own separate private terminal, Terminal de Aviación General is what they call it. It's separate from the big terminal. When you arrive in Malaga, you get on a van. You actually aren't allowed to drive your car up to the plane in Malaga, but you get on a van. They take you straight to the terminal, and your car's waiting outside at the terminal. It's completely separate. The security post there is, 2 people. It takes 2 minutes to get through, and that's it. Very, very simple. Going out, they have 2 VIP terminals, just depending on which handling company is chosen. The handling company is the company that takes the passengers and the luggage from the terminal to the plane. And the 2 VIP terminals or lounges are gorgeous as well.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great, doesn't it? So I mean, I'm guessing you're a gentleman who enjoys your job. I have no doubt. So what was the best thing about it? What do you enjoy the most?
I work from home, so the flexibility for me is phenomenal. The majority of my clients, after they've flown with me once or twice, typically we do our contact and our communication via WhatsApp, and the important stuff, contracts and passports and things like that, via email. But nowadays everybody's using WhatsApp, so I could be on the beautiful beach in Malaga, handling any type of flight at any given moment. Also, I guess 2 weeks ago, I had a good client of mine. His private chef, his wife was in Corsica, and he was in Malaga, Ronda, Malaga, and was about to have a baby. So we had to, with all the COVID-19 restrictions, get him home to have a home birth with his wife in Corsica, France. And that was an extremely difficult flight, but extremely rewarding afterwards, because it didn't look like it was going to the flight did not look like it was going to happen because of the restrictions in Corsica. But in the end, we got it done, and I received the other day a nice card from the client.
Oh, that's really lovely.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, that actually reminds me a bit of a story of my own. When my wife was very heavily pregnant and literally about to give birth, my employer at the time, who was an absolutely lovely chap, fantastic guy, had his own private jets. In fact, he's got a couple of private jets. And he wanted me to work quite a long way from where my wife was. And I was like, look, I can't do it. I can't go that far away. There's like 0 chance I'm going to miss the birth of my first child. It's not going to happen. And he's like, well, I'll tell you what we'll do then. We'll just leave the jet on standby. And if she goes into labor, you can take the jet, and then it's only like an hour and a half until you get there.
This is what this industry is about: flexibility, and that's a huge tool. And it's a shame that not everybody can afford to do this, but it's life-changing.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I suppose we should address the elephant in the room, which is, of course, the price.
Right.
Because I mean, I've booked jets. I know how much it costs. Sometimes you get a good deal, which is nice, but let's get those good deals into perspective. If people are used to commercial air travel, it's still a lot.
Yeah.
So can you give people like a couple of, and obviously everyone has to bear in mind that these prices are never exact because they constantly change, but can you give people a couple of examples for ballparks?
Well, yeah, the pricing is based on the plane size or takeoff weight. Technically, takeoff weight. So you have different segments. You have a light jet, a medium jet, a heavy jet, super medium jet, ultra long range. So we can start from the top. Ultra long range is going to be 10 to 20,000 euros per hour, and that's something that would get you from, let's say, New York to Japan. The smaller sizes, the light jets, you're looking at 2,500 to 3,200 per hour, flight hour. So there's a big range. It really just depends. But with all honesty, I've had clients that fly 2 passengers on an extremely large jet for a short range flight, and I've had passengers fill up an extremely large jet with their whole family for a long range flight. So it really depends on the needs of the client. but 2,500 to 20,000 an hour, it's a big difference. There's everything in between, everything.
Yeah, it certainly is. And but I suppose, I mean, I'm saying about how hugely expensive it is, but I suppose when you look at a full jet, and if you compared it with flying first class, if you weren't getting any discounts on those first class tickets, if you're paying full, say if it's a 15-person jet and they were all playing first class tickets, I mean, that's still a huge amount of money anyway, isn't it?
It is. The difference is, you're not flying on a full plane. That plane is not going to be full, and it's just for you. The attention, the service on the plane, whether it be one flight attendant, two flight attendants, or three flight attendants, is just for you. And again, we go back to the flexibility. You could book that plane within 2 hours and be in the air.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it makes me think, you talk about like the different size of planes as well. Like, I mean, it is like some people's private jets are literally 747s and things like that, aren't they? Which is, that's otherworldly. But
that when I was talking about, 10 to 20,000 an hour, that's the type of plane I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, tell people a bit about what's in those sort of planes. What's inside?
It depends. I mean, there's bedrooms, there are showers, there are big, large lounges, like a nice living room of a boat or a home as well. It's all set up for comfort and ease of use. Flat screen TVs, anything you can imagine.
I'll be honest. My favorite flight I think I ever had in a private jet was the smallest one I've ever been in. Okay. I can't remember what make it was. I think maybe it was like a G3 or something like that, but it was pretty small. Mm-hmm. I might have the wrong name now. I'm never good at remembering what they're called.
Probably. How many seats was it?
It was probably about a 6-seater, something like that, jet.
Probably talking about a Citation 2, Citation 3, something of that size. G3 is actually it's a big plane.
Oh, I got it mixed up. Okay, so yeah, thank you. A Citation. That sounds like something you get when you've done something wrong. A Citation,
The Citations are known to be very, very green in the industry. They have small motors. They fly slowly, but the price is. This is the type of plane that I was referring to for 2,500 to 3,200 an hour.
I mean, and it's still an absolutely wonderful. It might be the cheapest end of the market, but it's still great.
To fly from London to Scotland, that's that would be an ideal little plane to do that. London to Paris.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this particular flight I'm remembering was from Scotland to St. Moritz. Mm-hmm. And St. Moritz, you fly in and you go in between the mountains, and you're flying like directly at a mountain and looking out the side window at skiers higher than you are. It's quite a fun thing.
St. Moritz is a well-known airport. It's one of the most difficult to fly in and out of.
It's quite nerve-wracking its
fame.
I remember the pilot sat in the front, and he had the doors open to the cockpit, which again is so much nicer than you could never have that on a commercial jet for obvious reasons. Right. But obviously no one's going to hijack their own plane because it's their plane. But the doors are open and we're going in, and there's alarms going off. It's going terrain response, pull up, terrain response, pull up. And the pilot's just ignore that. It's fine. Just ignore.
The St. Moritz Airport has tons and tons of restrictions because of that, and especially in bad weather, it's a very difficult airport to land in. Not all planes are allowed to land there because of the instruments that they may or may not have.
So we've talked. Sorry to just reminisce on stories there, but you just get thinking about them. So we've spoken a bit about the sort of romance and the fun of it. But let's look at the practicalities. If someone is new to the industry, they're becoming a house manager. What do they need to do to sort of get hold of you or someone like you? They need to book a jet. What should they do?
Well, at my company, we do private jet charter worldwide. Our main focus is in Europe, obviously, but we do work worldwide in 24 hours. If you guys were to send me an email at info@privatejetspain.com, a little bit detailed. Obviously, I need to know the dates, from where to where, how many passengers, takeoff times, and things like that. And ideally mention where you're coming from, if it's this channel or not. That would be great as well. If not, or call me. My telephone is +34 670 887 801, and we'd be happy to help. It's just a phone call or an email. It's very simple. And from there, we'll go ahead and search for whatever needs you might have, or your employer.
So it's just really that easy. So all people have to do, they send you an email, they make a phone call to you. Because, again, I'm always aiming this for new people into the industry, people who haven't done it before. And I think they'll be daunted. They've suddenly said to boss, oh, I've got friends, they want to go on a private jet from here to there, wherever, it doesn't matter. So anywhere in the world, they contact you and you can just sort it out?
Yes. And, our company is very, very small. Basically, any request, unless I'm on vacation, will be handled by me personally. And I think that's something that nowadays is getting lost in the industry and a lot of industries as well. So anything you guys request from us will 9 times out of 10 be handled just by me, if not my partner. I think that's something that my clients, like, and that's why they recommend us.
I mean, I personally think that makes a huge difference. It's exactly the same way as I like to run my company. We're a small team, and we try and have people looking after specific clients. They can talk to me, they can talk to their usual butler. And it just makes it a nicer world for everyone, doesn't it, than just talking to a call center? For
sure. I mean, nowadays there's a lot of private jet apps, and you type in what you need. Sure, it's easy, but if and when there's a problem, you're still talking to an app, and it's a bit difficult.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, and just I've not warned Paulo about these questions, so he's having to field these. So just I'm putting him on the spot totally. And
it's
obviously,
I'm
not going to ask you to criticize your competition or anything like that. I'm not asking you to do that. But there are a lot, like you say, these apps. I mean, you can basically Uber yourself a chopper or whatever. I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, it seems easy, but sometimes things that are easy are not the best idea.
The Uber apps and that exist are based on empty legs, the majority of them, and that's when a plane flies to pick somebody up and drop someone off. But in the meantime, when it flies to pick up, it's flying empty, or after it's dropped off the passenger, it needs to get back home, and you get a discounted rate because it's empty. The problem is that flexibility diminishes at that point. And it's very difficult to say to the client, okay, well, you can have it at G3, like you mentioned before, for 5,000 euros when the flight should cost 15. It's a great discount, but at the same sense, if it doesn't match with your schedule or your boss's schedule, it's worthless. And this is the problem that these companies are having. This has been around since 2008. I've been in the business since 2007, and all these companies, I've just seen them, pop up, and the idea is fabulous, but it just doesn't work.
No, I mean, that just can't work under those circumstances. I mean, obviously, I've never used one of those apps or any similar thing for that reason, that I know my clients, and the money is not what it's about. If they were trying to save money, they'd fly EasyJet, you know.
Exactly.
They'd
Exactly.
do it for 30 quid, Ryanair, EasyJet, who cares? They want to roll up when they're ready to roll up, and it's all on their terms.
You know, I can tell sometimes by emails, I'm looking for the cheapest flight on this day and I'm flexible. And when they say flexible, I know that it has to be a very, very cheap price, or they're not going to take it. They're going to fly commercial. And that happens all the time. I get new emails and they say, the cheapest flexible flight. It never ends up closing, ever.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, it's the sort of the old adage of you get what you pay for. Really, isn't it? And
going back to those apps, another big part, there was one recently that was like, okay, well, you can share a seat on the private jet and you get a discounted rate, but you need to be flexible with your schedule. The other person needs to be flexible, and really it's not a private jet for you. It just loses its the whole idea behind it.
That's more like just having a very small commercial airline. That's like, to me, I've flown Flybe and there's only been about 6 of us on the plane, so it's pretty much the same in that way, but it's not the same because it's not flexible.
Right. Right.
Well, what would you like to really sort of just share and or maybe reiterate about what we've already spoken about to the?
Well, for new clients or people who are looking to get into flying private, it's super easy. I think that I'm not one of the private jet brokers that works personally with clients, but I think it's important. You need to find someone who's willing to work hand in hand with you and try and find the best deal, and not talk to a machine or not talk to a big help desk, because it's much less personal. And whenever there's problems, then you're not going to get the help that you need.
I mean, I think that sounds like really good, really sound advice. And it's certainly, that's the advice that I would also echo. Like if someone, when it comes to me training future butlers and stuff, that's exactly what I say. I say, look, deal with someone that you're dealing with someone, because once you get that sort of good rapport with the company, and usually as well, if you end up booking one private jet flight for a client, you're probably actually going to be doing it quite often. So you don't want to have to explain the entire thing over and over again. You want an agent who's your agent, and you phone Paulo and he'll be like, oh yeah, of course, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, I remember they want a bottle of Chablis or whatever,
Right.
you remember them.
Mm-hmm. It's very, very important. And the majority of my clients always repeat. We keep files of the things that they need and their information, so that they don't have to keep resending passports, things like that. So it's very important to work with somebody one-on-one.
Oh, brilliant. So thank you so much for joining me there. I mean, it's fascinating. It's something that, I mean, you can probably tell, it's something that I find very enjoyable. I've really enjoyed speaking to you about it, very much so. And
again, I'd like to thank you as well.
Oh, no, thank you. And I'm definitely going to use you in the future. Next time, who knows when, but next time someone comes to me asking to book, it doesn't happen as much as it used to, because I don't do so much of the private butlering now. But when someone does, I'm coming straight to you, and I'm gonna book a jet with you for sure.
Simeon, I really appreciate it.
Right, I'm looking forward to it. So thank you again so much for joining me. I'd just like to remind everyone that if you like these videos, please subscribe, because we're doing a lot of these interviews with the experts, about 2 a week. We're also doing the instructional videos for the Butler training videos, the house management videos. So subscribe so you don't miss any more. Leave your comments. If you have comments, obviously this went out with the live stream, but if you're not watching it with the live stream, put comments below and I will read them. And if it's something that you want to ask Paulo, just put it there and I will forward it on to him so I can ask the question. So thank you very, very much for joining me, Paulo.
Simeon, take care and thank you.
Yep, I will. Thanks very much. Right. Bye-bye.
Cheers.